This past week, Alfonso Davies hit 3 million followers on Instagram, which is just a little bit more than myself, Alex Sixero, and Dan Riccio. And guys, as we're ushering ourselves into this weekend in the Bundesliga, Alfonso Davies, Dan, is relegated to being a follower of his team. What did you make of the injury and just the way this season has started for the Canadian?
It's been really tough for Davies this season, and I think a lot of this has to do with where he's at in his career. He's still not yet 20 years old. He'll turn that next week. He played a ton of football last year, and the lack of a true offseason probably affected him more than most because he just hadn't handled a workload like this in his career. Davies played more than 3,000 minutes across all competitions for Bayern last season, a jump of more than 500 from his last season with the Whitecaps. The time away is probably a good thing for him to recharge and get ready for what's going to be a really busy second half of this season, all the fixtures with the European calendar, and then you also think of his Canadian international duties. Canada will be trying to qualify for the World Cup. There's also a Gold Cup next summer. So the fixtures are going to come hard and fast for Davies, and hopefully he can heal quick.
Well, and Bayern manager Hansi Flick maybe opened some eyes a little bit, suggesting that Davies was just out of form to begin this season. I think that's what Dan was touching on. The fixture list was quite large last year, and there wasn't much of a preseason. So I think the one thing with Flick is we know he has a tendency to work extremely well with young players. And if he sees that 19-year-old maybe needs a little bit of a breather, then I think Flick was probably in the right for not playing Davies early in the season. I was wondering why he wasn't playing every game, and I think there's a bit of a reason for it. So, I think Flick seems to know what he's doing, and now, Davies is going to get a couple of months to recoup. And with the Canada picture here, it's important to note that, the next set of World Cup qualifiers is in March. So if Davies comes back around January, gets some game time with Bayern Munich, if he rehabs and everything goes well, then come March for John Herdman, Davies should be good to go.
Alex, you mentioned Hansi Flick seems to know what he's doing, and it certainly appeared like that last season. And now again this season, after a little bit of a bumpy beginning to the Bundesliga season, is Bayern kind of back to where everyone expects them to be?
Sure looks like it. They've had a good start in the Champions League, 6 points out of a possible 6. Lokomotiv earlier this week made it a little interesting in the second half, but Bayern held on, and they had a couple of injuries there. Goretzka and Muller, a little bit of knocks. I'm not sure that's going to be anything too serious. But, yeah, look, you lose Alfonso Davies, and Lucas Hernandez is probably going to play left back every week, and I think Bayern will be just fine. Robert Lewandowski has scored, I believe, 10 goals in the Bundesliga. And I think the stat is that 14 teams in the league have not scored 10 goals so far through 5 match days. So, we talked about it a few weeks back that they added some pieces. I thought Douglas Costa in the last Bundesliga game played pretty well. So with Lewandowski rolling and the ability to replace Davies with a guy like Lucas Hernandez, they are still the monster of not just the Bundesliga guys. They're still the best team in Europe. They are the team to beat in the Bundesliga and the Champions League.
Yeah, I think for me, the big addition is Leroy Sané, and he returned from his injury last week and did score against Eintracht Frankfurt. And that's going to be something that, we continue to watch. Because as for right now, it's mostly been Bayern dominating with pretty much the same squad that they had last year. Joshua Kimmich has been incredible in midfield and scored again here in the Champions League this week to keep their win streak alive in that competition. But this week against Köln is an interesting spot. They've got Salzburg and then Der Klassiker against Dortmund next week. So might be one of those weekends where Bayern is looking ahead to the bigger fixtures.
Well, both of you guys have mentioned the Champions League, and wow, what a week it was for Leipzig against Man U. 5-0 final. Is that something, Dan, you think carries over to a team that's leading the Bundesliga? Or are they able to shake that off and kind of get back to the way they've been playing in Germany?
Well, they haven't had a tough fixture set in the Bundesliga so far. And the one match that they have had against a top-of-the-table type team is Bayer Leverkusen. And that was the only draw they've had in the Bundesliga. I think this match against Manchester United did highlight some things that we worry about with Leipzig. Most importantly, the loss of Timo Werner and who is their man leading the charge up front. Because against a Manchester United back line that just a few weeks ago, it seemed like we were ripping to shreds here. They didn't really – they looked punchless. And you can't look like that against Manchester United and the way that they've been able to play defense so far this year. So some concerns there. They really need to start factoring in their new strikers and see if they can get it done, because the fixtures are only going to get tougher for Leipzig.
Well, and their, defensive issues kind of crept up against Manchester United. And, it's going to be Leipzig and Mönchengladbach this weekend, one of the best fixtures of the weekend in the Bundesliga. And although Mönchengladbach's form in the Bundesliga hasn't been great, they played 5 games and they've only won 2. Their last week and a half, they drew Inter in the Champions League. They won last weekend in the Bundesliga, and they should have beat Real Madrid earlier this week, if not for a couple of goals late from the Spanish side. So, we look at Gladbach's French connection, Marcus Thuram, Alassane Plea. I mean, they're 2 of the better strikers in the league. I think with what Leipzig had to deal with against a United side earlier this week, I think Gladbach sees an opening here. And if they can pull out the 3 points, it'll just make the top of the Bundesliga table that much more intriguing. It's such a great matchup from so many sides. 2 great managers, Marco Rosa and Nagelsmann. Should be a fantastic match this weekend.
Well, guys, happy Halloween. Should be a treat to see what takes place in the Bundesliga in the next few days. Enjoy yourselves, and we'll talk to you in a week's time.